Hello everyone. So in last Zoom online class, so we discussed about optimizing IP for IoT. So in that we discussed about the protocol. So 6LO WPAN, so low power wireless personal area network protocol that we discussed. So now in this today's session, so we start from this today's session. We just start our discussion with next protocol. So that one is 6TASEH. So this indicates the TASEH stands that time slotted channel mapping. So this one is the IEEE 802.15.4e standard. So it's an odd and to media access control. Okay, this one is the time slotted. The name indicates time slotted in the sense to access the media control. So it will slot the time. Okay, time slot, and then according to the time it will give an opportunity to access media portion. So this one is the I already told this one is IEEE 802.15.4 standard. So devices implementing IEEE 802.15.4 TSCH time slotted channel hopping communicate by following time division multiplexing TDMA time division multiplexing axis schedule. Okay, so an allocation of a unit of bandwidth or time slot schedule between neighbor nodes. So means if you are connecting n number of, for example, 10 devices to a one modem or a one router, so they it will provide it will this protocol will allocate the time slot for each and every nodes. So by using this TDMA scheduled, okay, TDMA is time division multiple axis. Okay, it will allocate the division. The best example is while you are downloading the file, if you want to download the two or three files at a time, okay, then one one file will be uploaded or downloaded fastly compared to the another file. Okay, after that that first file what you are downloading, that will be stop its download, and then it will next it will provide time to download next second download what you are putting. Okay, there the time will get divided. So that one is the concept of time division uh, multiplexing. So here multiple access. So this protocol is also work like that to providing the time slotted, and then channel hopping means so it will provide a channel means a different nodes to access. Okay, access the servers or to communicate with the server side as well as the sensor. Okay, this allows the programming of predictable transmission and enables deterministic industrial type of application. So not like okay, this one is not like basic IEEE 802.1.54. Okay, this one will be updated. Okay, and then it helps to predictable transmission. Okay, so to standardize IPv6 over TSCH means time slotted channel hopping mode, IEEE 802.15.4e known as 60GS was introduced. Okay, so this is introduced to standardize the IPv4 IPv6. Okay, so the IEEE 802.15.4e standard defines the time slot structure, but it does not mandate a scheduling algorithm for how the time slot are utilized. So this one is not mainly designed for time slot structure. This one is mainly designed for time slot structure, but this one is not uses any scheduling algorithm. That means we are not this one not accepting, or this one not mandatorily uses any scheduling algorithm. So this is left to a level protocols like 60 60ICH. Scheduling is critical because it can be affect throughput, latency, and power consumption. So here, time scheduling means when you hear that time scheduling words, okay, and then if you see the definition, means if you see the working of time slotted, okay, by hearing it's good, but while you are implementing, so that it will faces so many problems like throughput problems, okay, latency problem, and then power consumption will be more, and then time slotted is a very critical and risky job. Okay, so next one is this one actually location of 60 APS 6 stop supply. So actually replace this one in the middle 6 stop by using this 6 stop. So we can enhance or we can upgrade the IPv6. So here we are attaching by using 6 stop. This 6 TICSCH we are attaching using 6 stop. So in the middle of 6 LOPM, LOWPAN, and then IEEE standard TS time slotted channel hopping. So in the middle we use fixed stop. So by using this one we can schedule a time. Okay, and then so this one will schedules in 6 years are broken down into cells. Okay, actually while they are going to schedule an algorithm time slotted, so they are dividing the nodes into cells. A cell is simply a single element in a TSH I already told. So that single element is nothing but a system schedule that can be allocated in direction or direction communication between the specified nodes. So this cell simple single element they are using. Okay, so that helps to communication in uni or bidirectional. Nodes only transmit when the schedule detects that their cell is open for communication only. So here for each node, so they are using one simple element. Okay, this protocol using one element called a shell. So that shell helps to communication unidirectional or bidirectionally. So this cell transmits data. Okay, or schedule. Okay, schedule time based on that nodes are open to communication. So these six TICH architecture define four schedule management mechanisms. Okay, first one is static scheduling, neighbor to neighbor scheduling, remote monitoring and scheduling management, hop by hop scheduling. So next we see one by one how this scheduling management mechanisms are work. So first one is static scheduling. So static, as the name indicates, so this one is fixed. Okay, fixed means it will not work dynamically. Okay, all the nodes, the constraint nodes share a fixed schedule. Means here the time is fixed. Okay, it will not change based on the condition. Dynamically, it not varies. Okay, fixed time. Okay, based on that fixed time, so that data are nodes are communicated with each other. All the nodes in the constraint network shares a fixed schedule. Cells are shared and the nodes contained for the slotted access in a started alpha manner. Okay, so static scheduling is a simple scheduling mechanism that can be used upon a initial implementation or as a fallback in the case of network malfunctioning. Means it fallback, it stop its working. Okay, in the case of network malfunctioning means any disturbance occur in the network, or your network will not work properly, or your network will not work according to your time fixed schedule. Okay, then it will stop its working. So the drawback with static scheduling is that nodes may accept a packet at any cell in the schedule. Therefore, energy is wasted ideally listening across all the cells. So the major problem here in the static scheduling is here we can accept that packets are not keep on coming from the nodes. Okay, and the nodes are continuously will not receive the packets. But here we fix the time slot. The time slot are fixed that will not changed. Okay, so there the energy must be varied. Why? Because the packets that come from any time. Okay, that comes from any time. Okay, so when that packets will come, then only we have to design a system like when packets will come, then only so it will get activated and then it will receive the packets. So then only we can avoid energy waste. But here the time slot is fixed, it works statically, that's why the energy is waste. So that one is the disadvantage. So next one is neighbor to neighbor scheduling. Schedule is established that correlates with the observed number of transmission between the nodes. So here that schedule, the name indicates neighbor to neighbor means so between one system to another system, neighbor system. Okay, which are the systems are present neighbor to your present system. So there that communication will happen. Transmission between the nodes. A schedule is established, then correlate means by correlation between the two devices, the transmission will be occurred between the neighbor nodes. Cells in this schedule can be added or deleted as traffic requirements and bandwidth needs change. So here in neighbor to neighbor, the cell uh, can be scheduled, or can add number of a number of devices or delete based on the traffic. Okay, here the neighbor systems, right? So based on traffic, it can add or remove. Okay, so next one is remote monitoring and scheduling management. So this one will work dynamically. Remote sensing in a sense that will work dynamically. Time slot and other resource allocation are handled by a management entity, can be multiple ops anyway. So that scheduling mechanism leverages 6-stop and even COAP. So controlled access protocol, controlled constant access protocols in some scenarios. So this one is uses the 6-stop. This release mechanism provides quite bit flexibility and control in allocating cells for communication between the nodes. So compared to static, so this one will provide some flexibility because so remote sensing in remote monitoring means when packets will come, then only will the cells will get activated and then it will allocate a time slot and then they can collect the data or they can enhance the communication. So compared to that static, so this one is will be flexible for communication between the nodes. Next up I have so the node reserves a path to destination node multiple hops away by requesting allocation as well in the schedule of at each intermediate node hop in the path. The protocol that is used by a node to trigger the scheduling mechanism is not defined at this point. Means hop by hop. So one device, one network device, one other network device, we are going to schedule. So their destination node here they contains multiple nodes. A node reserves for a destination node multiple hops away from the requesting allocation. So here intermediate nodes path means hop to hop communication. You need to schedule. So here we face a problem because of nodes are not reserved for a particular path. Okay. So they are attached for the plenty of different paths. So here they faces some from critical situations to enhance the communication. Okay. So next one, in addition to schedule management, so this TACH also having architectures also define three different forwarding models. Forwarding models. So forwarding is the operation performed on each packet by a node that allows it to deliver to the next hop or a upper layer protocol. So this forwarding means sending the packet from delivered to the next hop means one a layer to another layer. So it need to stay. The forwarding decision the forwarding decision is based on the pre-existing state that was learned from the routing computations. Okay, there are three different models, forwarding models introduced in this 60 ASCH. First one is track forwarding, fragments forwarding, and IPv6 forwarding. So first we see what is track forwarding. So it is the simplest and fastest forwarding model. So forwarding in a sense will forward the information or data from one hop to another hop. So the track in this model is unidirectional path between source and the destination. So this track is constructed by a pairing bundle of receive cells. Okay, cells are nothing but the time slotted fragments. It's a simple device. Okay, in a schedule with a bundle of received cells set at transmit. So a frame received within a particular cell or a cell bundle is switched to another cell or cell bundle. So this track forwarding is nothing but it will send the information in unidirectional path between the source and the destination. Okay, two devices they want to communicate with each other. So it will create a unidirectional path. So it contains constructed one bundle of receive cells in schedule with a bundle of receive cell. Okay, cell set it is helps to transmit the frames received within a particular cell or cell bundle switch to the another cell. Okay, in a unidirection. Next one is the IPv6 forwarding. So this one we also call as 6F. This model forwards traffic based on the IPv6 routing table. So according to the IPv6 routing table, so it is uses some different technologies. So to forward the information according to that IPv6 routing table, so this IPv6 forwarding or forwarding the data packets will happen. So flows of packets should be prioritized by traditional quality of service QoS and a random early detection operations. By using these two, so they give priority to send a packets packet flow. So QoS is classification flows based on the priority and RED is a common conjunction avoidance mechanism. So by using these two, so they used to flow of packets. Okay, based on priority, they send the packets by using IPv6 routing table in IPv6 forwarding. And then fragment forwarding, as the name indicates fragment. So it will going to fragment divide so make a division or make a separate blocks of packets and data packets that will send. So called as FF. This model takes the advantage of 6 LOWAN fragment. So in 6 LOWAN we discussed about fragmentation. Fragmentation is nothing but division. Okay, so to build a layer of two forwards table. So fragmentation within this fragmentation forwarding will happen by using this 6LoWPAN protocol. So IPv6 packets can get fragmented at the 6LoWPAN sublayer and handle differences between IEEE 2.15 payload size and IPv6 MT. Okay, so by using this fragment forwarding, by using this 6LoWPAN protocol, this fragment forwarding will happen. Okay, so next one is RP. Next, optimizing IP to IoT. Why we are not going to optimizing? So they introduced another one next protocol called RPL. So this one will be introduced by EDF, Internet Engineering Task Force. So this one RPL indicates character the ROLL. So routing over low power lossy network. So routing over low power lossy network working group to evaluate all layer 3 IP routing protocols and determine the needs of requirements for developing a routing solution for IP smart objects. So this protocol, it is first characterized as ROLL. So ROLL, so it's nothing but this one is working group, actually working group. So they used to determine developing a routing solution, means a routing protocol that routes the information between the IP smart devices. Okay, so the new routing protocol should be developed for the use of IP smart objects. So this working group or while a routing overload for loss network working group, so they developed one protocol. That protocol we called as IPv6 routing protocol for using low power and loss network is RPL. So this RPL is a IPv6 routing protocol for low power lossy networks. So in an RPL network, what it contains in the sense each node acts as a router. Okay, each node acts as a router and becomes part of a mesh network. Okay, so in this network, so each node will act as a router to route the information. So and then they are the part of the mesh network. Routing is performed at the IP layer. Okay, IP layer. Each node examines every received IPv6 packets and determines the next stop destination based on the information contained in the IPv6 header. So here each hop will receive the IPv6 packet. Okay, so and then examine and then they will determine. So where should that next destination address, where that address they will read in the IPv6 header and then they transmit the data. Okay, so the constraints of computing and memory that are common characteristics of constraint nodes protocols define two modes. So in this RPA, they define two modes of operations based on constraint nodes and their characteristics. So they are storing mode and non-storing mode. Storing mode means all nodes contain full routing table. Okay, as the name indicates, storing in the sense each node will act as a router, right? So each node will contain in the information of entire routing table. So every node knows how directly reach every other node. They know the routing table. Non-storing node. Non-storing means so only the border routers of RPL domain contains full routing table. All other nodes in the domain, all other nodes in the domain only maintain their list of the parents and use this as a list default routers towards the border router. So here the border router means the end routers only know the uh, routing table. But in storing mode, all the nodes will know the routing tables, and then they can easily directly send the data from one node to another. But here only edge router or border router will know the routing table. So if other nodes wants to send the information, so they get the list from the border routers and then they will send the information. This abbreviated routing table saves memory space and CPU space. Okay, so this one is advantage compared to that story because here all the nodes are knowing the routing table, but here only the border nodes will know the routing tables. It saves memory and CPU. And communication in non-storing mode, a node always forward these packets to the border router. Always it will send to the border router, which knows how ultimately reach the final destination. Okay, next RPL. So this one is a graph, DEAG graph. So RPL is based on concept of direct acyclic graph. So DAG indicates direct acyclic graph. So based on this, it will routing the information. A DAG is direct graph where no cycle exists. This means that from any vertex or point in the graph, you cannot follow an edge or a link back to the same point. So all of the edges are arranged in the path oriented towards the terminating at one or more root nodes. Means as the name indicates acyclic graph. Acyclic in the sense it will not move in acyclic, means it will not come from the, yeah, again it will not come to the same node. Means here if you want to send the packets within that network, so it will forward to the one node to another node. So it will again reconnect to the same node. Okay, it will not route in again. Okay, it will not comes from the same node again. So they are forwarding the information in an acyclic manner. Okay, no cycle will directly, it will forward from one point to another point. So again it will not comes to the same node. All the HRs are in the path oriented towards terminating at one or more root nodes. So here one or more root nodes are there. So from that, here each and edge arranged, and then they will helps to forward the information from one node to another node. So next, the basic RPL process involves building a destination-oriented direct acyclic graph. Okay. So last what we discussed, that one is direct acyclic graph. This one is destination-oriented direct acyclic graph. So here it is they are showing. So this one will be acyclic, means same node will be not get cyclic. Okay. One node will not again will come and transfer the nodes. But here next one is destination oriented. So based on destination, okay. So your direct acyclic graph will work, and a DODAG is routed to one destination. So in RPL, this destination occurs at the border rotor known as DODAG. So this one is work like a border destination. So border network. So border mode. So what we discussed in last, this DAG will work like a store node. So here this one will work like a border node. So border node means non-stored. Okay, but here DAG will work like a, okay, DAG is a routed. Okay, each block will be made as a DAG routes. These are DAG routes. Okay, these DAG routes will work like uh, store nodes, and then from this it will get the information where exactly the data are get transferred. So that data for transferring also they are using destination oriented. So that DAG has multiple routes, whereas DOG has just one. So this DAG DOG has only one uh, route, but DAG has multiple routes. Because that one is stored. Each and every nodes having their information, having the information of other nodes. But in DOG, so this one will work like a border. Okay, so border route. So here only one router will work like a root element to forward the information. So what I explained, the same thing they explained. So in DODAG, each node maintains up to three parents that provided the path to the router. One of these parents is preferred parent, which means it will prefer next up forwards the data. So upward routers RPL was discovered and configured using DAG information object and messages. So they use the DOAG information object to handle the changes in the topology that can be affected routing. So okay, in the middle, if there is any effect for the routing, so that can be handled by the DAG information object. Okay. So nodes establish downward routers by advertising their parent set towards the DOG. So here they explain how the DAG will work in DA objects will work in storeroom modes and as well as non-storeroom modes. So in non-storeroom modes, nodes sending DOG message report their parent set directly to the DAG route, and only the route stores routing information. So here that in non-storing modes they tell directly to parents. So this route, so this one is the, so it's the overview of RPL. Okay. So here you see. So RPL route node. This one is the DODG. So we already discussed, right? DODG means destination oriented direct acyclic graph. So this one is the parent node. So from here a rank. So they divided this one into ranks. This one upward and downward directions. So here they exchange the information. So based on acyclic mode, okay. So based on ranks, they are going to explain. So DAO and DIO, okay. So DAO and DIO are the messages travel both up and down. The DOJ depend on the message type. Based on the message type, they are moving upward and downward direction. So this one is the root from this root node. So they are the siblings of this root. Okay. So they are the um, this one is actually the RPL instance. Here we are using wireless area network. Actually, this one is your router. From this router, they are going to exchange the information. So these are all the nodes. Actually, nodes. Okay, from this, they are going to exchange the information. So next one is next RPA in RPA. So objective functions. So this objective function defines how matrix are used to select the routers and establish the node rank. Okay. So for establishing the for selecting routers. So here in this diagram we have different types of routers. Okay. There are the node points, right? They are like routers. Okay. So for how they are going to select, that one will be defined. So in objective function, so based on rank, so here they define the rank, right? So here they mention the rank. Based on rank, so the routers will be designed, means based on their performance and the number of nodes connected. So they given a rank. So based on that, uh, this objective function will work. For example, node implementation on OF objective function with minimum accepted number of transmission. So advertise the MATX. MATX is nothing but minimum expected number of transmission. So advertise the matrix among their parents in DIO message. DIO is object interface. Okay. Okay. Here we explained, right, DIO. So DIO is DAG information object. Okay. This one is used to configure the routers. Okay. Okay. So whenever a node establishes rank, it simply sets the rank to the current minimum MATX among its parents. So this one will be select the router based on the rank. So the rank is rough approximate how close the node is to the root and helps to avoid routing loops and count to infinity problem. So based on that approximation and then based on the distance of the nodes, root node, okay. So to avoid routing loops, so here they establish the rank. They given the rank based on that how that node will be connected to that one. Okay. So how close the node is to the root and the helps to avoid the routing. So based on that, your device or your node how close to that main parent root. So based on that, they provide a rank. If it is nearer, then they will give more rank. Okay. So nodes can only increase their rank with receiving DOI message with a larger portion numbers. Okay. So and then however nodes may decrease their rank where they are not established the low cost routes. So based on the number of connections, so they provide a rank. So while the rank and the routine matrix are more closely related, the rank differs from routine matrix in that it is used constraint to prevent looping loops. Okay. So next RPL letters. So in RPL letters, so on IPv6 routing letter, here also we use IPv6 routing letter. In that routing letter, it contains the destination's address. Okay. So for secure route with the routing protocol for low power lossy network. So a new IPv6 option known as the RPL option. So if any new node will come, for that it will store it. They maintain their own database in that database. So each node will contain that information of new IPv6. If any new connection will come, so that will be stored. So the RPL option is carried out in the IPv6 of header. So in the header, that information is stored. The purpose of this header is to leverage data plan packets for loop detection and RPL instance. So RPL instance, and then for detecting loops, so they have this header. In that it will store the information. Source routing header SRH is for use between RPL router. So between the RPL routers, they are using source routing header. So a border router or DAG route inserts SRH when specifying a source route to deliver datagrams to nodes downstreams in the mesh network. So here they are using border router. That one inserts the SRH. SRH is source routing header. Okay, that one is the main source routing header. So that one will deliver the datagrams to the nodes down in the mesh network. Okay. So next one is metrics. So some of the RPL routing metrics and contents defined RFC 688 standard include the following. It contains mm, ETX expected transmission count. So how much expected means how much data can be transmit, and then hop count, how many number of hops are there, and then latency, the link quality level. Okay. So and then link color. Okay. All this information are stored in the matrix. So hop count means how many number of nodes are transferred, and the latency time taken. Okay. And the link quality level. So that link quality, that link having no disturbance or no error transmission, okay, that quality of delivering the data. So that will be calculated in that matrix. And then link color in the sense based on the traffic. Okay, so based on the traffic, how that links will be work. If it is full busy, red color. If it is free, okay, that connection is free, then they will display green color like that. Okay, so and then node state and attribute. So node state and attributes means each node state, how much data are connected, how much links are connected, workload of that nodes, and then attributes some of the features like how much information that nodes will contain, okay, and then how much payload, and then how much loads that nodes are having. That will be stored in that RPL. Node energy. Node energy means power, how that power will supply to the node. It may be battery powered or it will be directly running. Okay, so avoids nodes with low power. So a battery powered node that is running out of the energy can avoid it, and the life of the node and the network can be prolonged. Okay. Throughput means how much output it will provide. So provides the amount of throughput from the node link. So node conversation power use and lower throughput. This matrix allows the creation of path with higher throughput. Okay, based on the higher throughput, so it creates a priority path. Okay. So in the next authentication and encryption in constraint networks. So the next concept in optimizing IoT, IP for IoT. So authentication and encrypting on constraint nodes. So how you are going to encrypt the data in constraint nodes, and how you are going to find the authentication. So IETF working group. So they focused on IoT security. For security, they introduced two concepts, ACE and IDACE. So next we discussed about ACE. So ACE is nothing but authentication and authorization for constrained environments. So this one is the process to find the authentication and authorization. So this working group, actually these two are the working group. They work for this particular section to provide a security. So here ACE group will work for authentication and authorization in constrained environments. So this working group is tasked with evaluating applicable for existing authentication and authorization protocols. So ACE working group will focus the work of a COAP. So this COAP is a constrained application protocol. Okay, so that one we discussed in next. So in next chapter, detailed about this COAP with the datagram transport layer security DTLS protocol. So this working group focus on the work of COA with DTLS means transport layer security protocol. So SA working group expects to produce a standard solution for authentication. Okay, mainly this one is used to give the authentication and authorization. Okay, for main purpose for providing security through authentication and authorization, they use COA and as well as DTLS protocols. So unconstrained authorization server perform mediation of the access. Okay, and the next one is DCAE. Okay, new generation of constraint node implementation and IP stack over constrained access network are expected to run on optimized IP protocol stack. So the DTLS in constrained environments, okay, DAC is nothing but DTLS in constrained environment network. So the DTLS is what? So the DTLS is datagram transport layer security. So the datagram transport layer security in constrained nodes called as DTC working group. They focus on implementing DTLS transport layer security protocol in these environments. So in these environments means the first environment is the first task of the DCI working group is define and optimize DTLS profiles and constraint nodes. In addition, the DCI working group is considering the applicability of the DTLS record layer to secure multicast message and investigating how DTLS and SAC and constraint environments can be optimized. So actually these two are the working group. So they are mainly used for authentication and encrypting. So ACE is mainly concentrate on authentication and authorization. For that they are going to use COAP, okay, protocol and as well as DTLS. So they are using these two protocols are mainly concentrated on standardizing. Okay, they provide host to host checking. Okay, and then they are authenticating each host and nodes, and then they provide security. Security in the sense of while they are transmitting information, for that they use the functions for using for sending data. They use post and get post methods for sending and receiving the methods. Okay, so you already discussed in the networking get and post methods mainly used to transfer the information between if you want to communicate through forms. So the type of encrypting while you are posting information, the data are get encrypted, right? That are all implemented in this working group. Okay, they are providing that information and then their suggestion in the form of that encrypting the data, okay, and then authenticating the data. And then next one is their DSE. Okay, this one is also DTLS in constrained environments. And so this security protocol, so they mainly focused on constrained nodes. Okay, in addition, DSA working group constraint applicable on the DTLS record layer. In this layer, they are concentrating and then provide security. Okay, and then profiles and compliances. Profiles definition and compliances means they provide a certificate. It's like a digital certificate. They provide guarantee in guarantee to use the particular technology. So profile definition, certification, and promotion by alliance can help to implementers to develop solutions that guarantee interoperability and interchangeability of the databases. Some of the main industry organizations working on profile definition certification for IoT constrained nodes and networks. Okay, so there are some of the industries they are working to provide a certification for IoT constrained networks and network constrained nodes and networks. Okay, they provide a certificate and then guarantee to use that technology. They are Internet Protocol Smart Object, IPSO Alliance, YSUN Alliance, Thread, IPv6 Ready Logo. So these are all certificates they provide to provide a guarantee of the IoT devices and network devices. So first one is Internet Protocol for Smart Object Alliance. So the alliance initially focused on promoting IP as a memory solution for smart object communication. So this alliance mainly focused to promote the IoT. IoT is the main solution for object communication. So they are mainly focused on that. Okay, today I'm more focused how to use IP and then all those things they are uh, promoting, organizing appropriate testers between alliance members and validate the IP for smart objects can work together properly implement the industrial standards. They helps to promoting the IoT devices by implementing the industrial standards. And then Wi-Fi alliance. So this Wi-Fi mainly focus on IEEE 802.15.4G protocol and its support for multi-service and secure IPv6 communication with applicable running over a UDP transport layer. Okay. So this voice and filter and network profile enable smart utility networks to provide resist, resilient security and cost-effective connectivity, extremely good coverage in a range of topographic environment for dense urban neighborhood to rural areas. So this alliance helps to provide a security. Okay, they provide a sanity for communicating securely in IPv6 network in UDP transport layer. Okay, so they provide security and cost-effective connection. Okay, standards with extremely good range of topographic environment. Means topology means you particular environment if you want to communicate. So for that they provide security and standardity. And thread is a group has defined an IPv6 based wireless profile that provides the best way to connect more than 250 devices into low power wireless mesh network. So this one is a standard group. Okay, they define how to connect 250 devices in low power mesh wireless mesh network. So how they will connect that standard they will be introduced, and then IPv ready logo. So this program established conference and interpoverty testing programs with the intent of increasing confidentiality when implementing IPv6 to increase the confidentiality, and then to IPv6 core and specific IPv6 components that TSCP what we discussed IP section and customer edge router certifications are in the place. So they are the ready logo. A ready logo they provide the confidentiality of use of IPv6. Okay, and then they provide security and then interoperability, and then they provide customer guarantees for using this IP security protocols and DHCP protocols. They provide certification, okay, and then they suggest that use of this standard IPv6 protocol. Okay. So and then next, this completes your first chapter. Okay, if you get any doubt, so please message me, okay, contact me. Okay, so this completes the first chapter in your third one. So next video we discuss about application protocols for